Hey there folks, welcome back to another thrilling episode. Buckle up because we're diving into the chaotic world of the US-China trade war. This isn't just a skirmish, it's a high-stakes battle that affects economies worldwide. This ain't your grandma's trade dispute, it's a full-blown economic showdown. We're talking about two of the world's largest economies going head-to-head, each trying to outmaneuver the other. Picture Rocky Balboa versus Ivan Drago, but instead of punches, it's tariffs. And these tariffs aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet, they have real-world consequences for businesses and consumers alike. And instead of sweaty dudes in short shorts, it's global superpowers with questionable hairstyles. The stakes are high and the tension is palpable. The US, under the, shall we say, persuasive leadership of former President Trump, threw the first punch. His administration imposed hefty tariffs on Chinese goods, aiming to reduce the trade deficit and protect American jobs. Tariffs on Chinese goods flooded in faster than cheap plastic toys on Black Friday. American consumers and businesses felt the pinch as prices for everyday items began to rise. China, not one to back down from a brawl, retaliated. They slapped tariffs on American products, hitting industries like agriculture and manufacturing hard. But here's the kicker. China's fighting style is more like a cunning martial artist than a brawler. They didn't just respond with tariffs, they also devalued their currency and sought new trade partners. They hit where it hurts, strategically and asymmetrically. This trade war isn't just about economics, it's about global influence and power. Stay tuned as we unravel more layers of this complex and ongoing saga. Remember those soybeans America loves to grow? Turns out China loves to buy them. So guess what they targeted first? Bingo! Soybeans became China's weapon of choice, slapping tariffs on them like they were going out of style. Why? Because they knew it would hurt American farmers, a key demographic in, let's say, certain political calculations. The impact was as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face. American soybean exports to China plummeted, leaving farmers with silos overflowing and wallets emptier than a politician's promise. It was a clear message. You want to play rough? We can do this all day, buddy. Now you might think, can't America just slap tariffs right back? It seems like a straightforward solution, right? If one country imposes tariffs, the other country can simply retaliate with their own tariffs. But the reality is far more complex than it appears on the surface. Well, it's not that simple. The global economy is like a giant, intricate web where every action has a ripple effect. Tariffs are not just about slapping a tax on imported goods, they have far-reaching consequences that can affect various sectors and industries. China has a secret weapon, a massive trade surplus with the US. This means that China exports significantly more to the United States than it imports. This trade surplus gives China a considerable advantage in any trade dispute. They sell a boatload more to America than they buy. This imbalance means that the US is more dependent on Chinese goods than China is on American goods. When tariffs are imposed, the impact is not felt equally by both sides. Think of it like this. You lend your buddy $100, and he only pays back $20. In this scenario, you are the one who is more invested in the relationship because you have lent out more money than you have received. Then you get into a fight and decide to stop lending him money. The person who owes more is less affected by the fallout because they have less to lose. This is similar to the trade relationship between the US and China. Who feels the pinch more? The lender, who has more at stake, or the borrower, who has less to lose? In the case of the US and China, the US feels the pinch more because it relies heavily on Chinese imports. That's the trade imbalance in a nutshell. The scales are tipped in favor of China, making it difficult for the US to leverage tariffs effectively without hurting its own economy. China can afford to absorb more tariff pain because they have more skin in the game. Their larger trade surplus acts as a buffer, allowing them to withstand the economic impact of tariffs better than the US can. It's like trying to out-eat a competitive eater. You're just setting yourself up for a world of hurt. The competitive eater has trained for this, has the capacity and can handle the pressure, while you, on the other hand, are likely to falter. Similarly, in the trade war, China is better prepared to handle the economic strain, leaving the US in a more vulnerable position. But wait, there's more! China's arsenal goes beyond simple tariffs. They've got a whole bag of tricks that would make a magician blush. Import licenses, suspended, customs inspections, you bet. And they'll take their sweet time. It's death by 1,000 bureaucratic cuts, and American businesses are feeling the sting. Need another example? Remember those Australian lobsters that got caught in the crossfire back in 2020? Let's just say they didn't exactly get the red carpet treatment at Chinese customs. It was a not-so-subtle reminder. Cross us, and your goods might just go bad waiting for approval. American companies caught in the crossfire. Here's the real kicker. China isn't just targeting American products, they're going after American companies directly. Tech giants like Google and Nvidia have found themselves in the crosshairs of Chinese antitrust probes. And poor Illumina, a gene sequencing company, got hit with an import ban that sent their stock price tumbling faster than a toddler on a sugar rush. The message is clear. You want to play in our sandbox? You gotta play by our rules. It's a high-stakes game of economic chicken, and American businesses are caught in the middle. Tesla and Apple China holds the keys. But it gets even juicier, folks. China is also playing the long game, using its massive market as leverage. Take Tesla, for example. They've gone all in on China, building a gigafactory that churns out electric cars faster than Elon Musk can tweet controversial opinions. But that reliance on China also makes them vulnerable. And then there's Apple, the tech giant that relies on China for a big chunk of its iPhone production. Imagine if China decided to, shall we say, discourage Apple's presence. It would be like taking a bite out of Apple's profits, and not the good kind. Currency and rare earths. The nuclear option? Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the dragon in the room. China has a couple of nuclear options up its sleeve: currency manipulation and rare earth metals. They could weaken their currency, making their exports cheaper and American goods more expensive. It's like playing Monopoly and suddenly deciding to print your own money. And then, there are rare earth metals, those essential ingredients in everything from smartphones to fighter jets. China controls a big chunk of the global supply. If they decided to restrict exports, it would be like cutting off the oxygen supply to key American industries. The fallout, a lose-lose situation. So, where does this all end? Honestly, nobody knows for sure, but one thing's clear: this trade war is like a game of chicken played with 18-wheelers. Somebody's gonna get hurt, and it might just be everyone involved. The global economy is already feeling the heat. Supply chains are disrupted, businesses are struggling, and consumers are facing higher prices. It's a lose-lose situation, and the only winners are probably the lawyers and lobbyists raking in the dough. And the winner is nobody. In the grand theater of global economics, the curtain has fallen on yet another act of the US-China trade war. A saga filled with tariffs, sanctions, and retaliations, leaving a trail of economic debris in its wake. So, there you have it, folks. The trade war, which was supposed to be a strategic maneuver to protect national interests, has instead turned into a quagmire of lost opportunities and strained relations. Businesses on both sides of the Pacific are feeling the pinch, from small enterprises to multinational corporations. The US-China trade war, a messy, complicated, and ultimately pointless battle of economic egos. Stock markets have been on a roller coaster ride, with investors holding their breath at every new development. The uncertainty has led to volatile markets, affecting not just the two giants but economies around the world. It's a stark reminder that in the interconnected world of global trade, there are no real winners, only varying degrees of losers. Supply chains have been disrupted, leading to delays and increased costs for consumers. The ripple effects are felt far and wide, from the tech industry to agriculture, and in this case, it seems like everyone's losing. Small businesses are closing their doors, unable to cope with the increased costs of imported goods. Farmers are struggling with reduced exports, and consumers are facing higher prices for everyday items. Let's just hope cooler heads prevail before this trade war escalates any further. Diplomatic efforts are ongoing, but the road to resolution is fraught with challenges. Both sides need to find common ground and work towards a mutually beneficial agreement. Otherwise, we're all in for a world of economic hurt. The longer this conflict drags on, the more damage it will inflict on the global economy. Factories will shut down, jobs will be lost, and the economic recovery from the pandemic will be further delayed. And nobody wants that, except maybe those doomsday preppers stocking up on canned beans and toilet paper. While some may see this as an opportunity to prepare for the worst, the majority of us just want stability and growth. But that's a whole other story for another time. For now, we must navigate these turbulent waters and hope for a brighter future. The sun will set on this chapter, but the story of global trade continues. Good night, and try to sleep well with all this economic uncertainty keeping you up at night. Remember, in the grand scheme of things, we are all interconnected, and the actions of one nation can ripple across the globe. Stay informed, stay hopeful, and let's work towards a more stable and prosperous world.